Hey, and here we are. It is UK Cowboys TV Season 2, episode 69. And yes, it is, of course, guys, the first in the season of the pre-game show calendar, which means football's back!
Wet nights are back.
Yes, and how we all feeling?
Ready to lose some sleep and lose a lot more air than we've got now, because you know what this team does to us.
Yeah, looking forward to some normal Sunday nights. Welcome, shall we say.
Yeah, and I think as well, what's made this pre-season even worse is that there hasn't been a pre-season, so it's made it, I feel, like even longer than what it has been. Hold on a minute. I'm streaming myself twice. I do apologize.
The magic of live TV.
There we are. Oops. Our first technical hitch. But yes, we do, of course, have on the show with us this week, we've got two monstrous members of UK Cowboys TV team. We've got Jamie Smith and Graham Wilson with us. And we also have, as we've advertised all week, the champion of blogging the boys and the most distinguished and noble, Mr. RJ Ochoa. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. It's always great to talk to you. I've missed you all. You mentioned how you all were ready to lose some sleep. I say this all the time. I greatly admire your dedication to the NFL. I can't imagine the scenarios being flipped and having to stay up as late as you guys do. But I've started to experience it. I've mentioned this before, I've gotten more into the EPL of these last couple of years. So my life is starting to mirror that in a different way. But I'm very excited that the season is here. Very, very, very hopeful for what the next few months have in store for us.
Definitely. And just on a quick side note, I thought I'd ask you this while you're here. How do you think the SEC and the Aggies are going to go?
Well, so it's been a long time since I was roaming the campus in College Station. And that was back during the Big 12 days. Obviously, I mean, and you could say this about our lives. It's so hard to know what the next few months have in store. But even if college football were to be normal, I know that this fall the Masters is going to happen. I know that the Cowboys are going to have a lot of success offensively, and I know that at multiple points Texas A&M is going to upset me. Those are just truths that I've applied to my life every year around this time of year.
Well, what we're going to do is, because although we like talking Cowboys football, as I've said it before, it's the first in the pre-game calendar. And we've got to have a man that probably has forgotten more about Dallas Cowboys than we will ever know. So that's why we've invited you on to kick us all off for the season. So first of all, before we get into the whole Cowboys versus Rams talk, I thought I'd get all of your reactions to the 53. I know at the moment it's an unofficial 53, and we can talk about the practice squad, which we'll get into as well, because that's a pretty wild ride that's gone on there. But so far, what do you guys all make of what the Cowboys have done this offseason and how the final roster's looking? What do you all think?
I think there's been a lot of smart moves. I think over the last few years, the front office has started to kind of get this right. And we used to kind of go out and spend a ton of money on some big names, and it kind of come back to bite us in the proverbial backside in it. But there's been a lot of smart moves. But I think we touched on it before. There's one name that's not on that roster that I think a few of us hope it's going to be on that roster. So for me, it's a 52 at the minute.
All right. I mean, I'm going to have to ask RJ. I know what the answer is going to be because I think it's pretty much going to be the same as mine. The Earl Thomas narrative getting on your nerves yet? Getting on your nerves? Is it? Is it getting on your nerves? Is it?
I don't think so. Honestly, the Jamal Adams thing got annoying. Because Jamal kind of ran my life in that I was on Instagram so much more when we were on Jamal Watch, just making sure he wasn't liking this or sharing that or whatever. The Earl thing is to me, it's kind of like, do you remember when Spider-Man was only like a Sony property and couldn't be in the Marvel movies? And like every time that would come up, everyone would get excited and it would be like, no, this isn't going to happen, etc. And then it finally did. I don't know if this will ever happen, but that was always entertaining to me, and that's kind of how this
feels. So, for you, Gray, on the 53, any surprises or upsets that were left in or made it afterwards? You know, like say, for instance, the wide receiver, Malik Turner. Any of those sort of surprises? Is that the biggest surprise to you?
Do you know, I would almost go, I would think that the Haha Clinton Dix was quite a story, because Mike McCarthy will know him well, seasoned veteran. Certainly a lot of the UK group has been crying out for safety over the years, and we finally seem to have got a seasoned pro in there, and then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, you're back on the street. That was surprising to me. I think his abilities must be declining a fair little bit, because you didn't see the Bears make a play for him. He only signed a 1-year deal with the Cowboys. I would imagine that Mike McCarthy's only saw the shadow of the player he was used to in Green Bay. So, this is only going to make the Earl Thomas talk rumble on. And we've even seen Brandon Carr join the practice squad because he played a lot at safety for the Ravens. So, yeah, safety's been the big talk of the offseason and the draft for a long time now, and it's only ever going to continue into the season, because you'd imagine that the best 30 odd safeties have jobs now. So it's kind of not the ideal time to go looking for a safety, and that's why the Earl Thomas talk is so rich at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, you jump in on something I was going to ask all of you, what you make of both the Brandon Carr signing, which he's only on the practice squad, and I have an interesting stat on Brandon Carr, not one that you've already heard. I'll bring back another one, but also Randy Gregory. What do you guys make of that one? I mean, I specifically asked Jamie and RJ on that one, since Graham's already touched on Brandon Carr.
I'll let you go, RJ. You're the guest, so I'll let you roll with this one first.
I think that Randy is certainly somebody that is very important to root for. I think that Randy has dealt with a lot off of the field, and I know it's felt like his career has lasted a long time, and it's obviously been a very unique one. And so I can't stress enough that I'm very much rooting for Randy Gregory, the person. In terms of who Randy Gregory, the football player, is, right now in the here and now, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, obviously, we've heard a lot of things about Aldon Smith, and there's some legitimate stuff to get excited about there. Randy Gregory, I think there's reason to be optimistic and there's reason to be hopeful. But I think I think both of those players, Aldon and Randy, as football players, I think they're icing on top of the cake, and I think that's why a player like Everson Griffin is necessary, because it would be irresponsible in a football sense specifically to rely on Aldon or Randy Gregory. But if you get anything out of them while you're helping them get back to where they want to get to as people, that's a win for everybody.
Yeah,
I think the Cowboys as well. Sorry, I'm just going to think. Yeah, Michael, I'm just going to say that it's good to kind of see that the Cowboys obviously think very highly of Randy Gregory, because a lot of teams would have thrown in the towel by now, and kind of gone, yeah, we've paid him his money and he's kind of fallen by the wayside. So it's good to see there's that kind of loyalty there, because he obviously has a problem with what he's obviously gone through. And I think we all know, don't we, when someone's got issues like that, they need a very strong support group around him, and clearly the Cowboys have done that to him. So hopefully he's over the worst of what he's had to deal with, and he can get back to producing what he produced in college, and why the Cowboys thought so highly to actually even draft him.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the whole 53, I think, is kind of, some bits were a bit surprising. Like the whole only 3 safeties they've kept and 5 linebackers. I'm surprised at both of that. I feel they've gone a bit light there, but I think what they've tried to do is, if you look at the dynamics with it all, with the 3 running backs and the extra tight end as well, Sean McKeown, I think they're looking down the route of special teams, I think, more than anything. Would you agree, RJ?
Yeah, and I think there are some wrinkles to this year that are important. I think, especially from a special teams perspective, the fact that an unlimited amount of players can be brought back from injured reserve and things like that. And so I know there were people that were bummed not to see like Francis Bernard make the 53-man roster and things of that sorts. But this is a very unique year. I know that we keep saying that, and I mean it's obvious at this point, but that's what makes, I agree with you that some of these things feel abnormal, like, oh, they would normally carry this many or that many or whatever, but it really and truly, what's more is that it would be another thing if this was Jason Garrett's team and we knew, every year they carry X, but the thing that's making everything so foreign on top of it all is that we just have no idea what Mike McCarthy prefers out of his Dallas Cowboys.
Just to kind of add to that,
go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, and I might get a bit of stick for this, and we've made, like I said earlier, we've made some shrewd signings, and I think that maybe excite is probably the wrong word to use, but probably makes me happy is we've finally got a decent backup quarterback. This team, for years and years and years, kind of went with, like I say, we had Tony Romo, and there was nobody kind of behind Tony. When Dak's been in, I know Tony backed him up to start with, but since that, he's not really anybody. And if you look at this roster, there's a couple of places where you could probably say, look, we could go out and maybe upgrade that position. But overall, this team is in win now mode. If we went into the playoffs, Dak goes down and we had to go in with Cooper Rush, there's no way. Now, I'm not saying we would go out and win the Super Bowl with Andy Dalton, but he's been there. He's played in the playoffs. He's won a ton of games. It's nice to see that we made a smart option and we've gone with someone of a good caliber, because I think if you look at it, he could potentially start for a couple of teams in this league, and it chose to come to us. And that's one of the moves I really liked, because this, although it's not to the caliber of Dak, we could still play to some level on offense with Andy Dalton in the centre if Dak obviously goes down.
Yeah. Okay. I think that puts that one to bed. Let's get into it then finally, guys. Let's look at the Cowboys offense versus the Rams defense. I am so excited to be talking actual football. Oh, it's amazing. You will not know. I'm shedding a slight tear. Hold on. Let me get rid of that. There we go. So first of all, right then, guys, let's get into injuries, because there are a couple, but also some good news. On the offense, we'll look at the injuries on the defense later on. We've got obviously Lyle Collins. Now he's pretty much out for the next 4 weeks. I say it's going to be longer than that. By the time he gets up to scratch, I heard some things. I don't know if you've heard this, if it's true, RJ. It's not only the injury; it was a weight issue with Lyle, that he was he needed to shed some weight. Should we say? Is that correct?
There were some rumblings of that. I should say that earlier this morning, at least as far as our time is concerned, it was reported by TMZ Sports that after his car crash incident that he had a few weeks ago, that he was seen complaining that his neck hurt, So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, which I know is shocking, but I don't know if that's a factor. I will say it was interesting, to say the least, how nonchalant Mike McCarthy discussed La'el Collins specifically. La'el and Amari have been two players that the Cowboys have been very specific about how they made it a point not to say anything in detail.
Yeah, because that was another one, which I'll get to in a minute. The other one is Ventel Bryant, which we know about. He's on IR, but they can bring him back after 4 weeks under this year's rules with IR, as you mentioned earlier, RJ, and practice squad players. But Amari Cooper, which was a bit of a weird one as well. Now, Jerry Jones came out, said, "Oh, it's all right. It was more of a precautionary thing, rather reactionary." But he was yesterday a full participant in training. I don't know what you make of that. I mean, to me, it sounds to me like Amari's going to be going full pace. Is that the feeling that you're getting over there as well, RJ?
I think so. I think that Amari is very unique. I think the comment that stuck out to me throughout the last few weeks was how Mike McCarthy said that every player was different, that mathematics went into every player based on experience and things like that. And so I think the Cowboys are aware that Amari Cooper needs less practice than, say, CeeDee Lamb, just given his time spent in the NFL. And so while I don't think you want him to go in there completely raw, I think that they acknowledge that Amari Cooper can miss this, can miss that, can rehab this way, can adjust that way, because Amari is one of the most intelligent players on the team. And so I would guess right now that Amari plays, and perhaps plays in full.
Oh, he's gone
And
off
Mike
again.
has gone.
Oh, look at this now. He can't be trusted, can he? Kidding. Say the horses are the mostest. Oh gosh. Well, let's see how long he takes to come back now, eh?
Am I not? Oh. I mean.
Oh.
There we go. It's the return. Sorry, I do apologise. I was having some issues with the computer, so I'm switching devices. But yeah, going back to Amari Cooper, and I'll stick with you, RJ, on this one. In terms of Amari Cooper playing on the road and also playing when he's playing top cornerbacks, do you feel that the Amari Cooper game, if you like, that is going to be, we're going to see slight issues, or we're not going to see full-fledged Amari Cooper this time?
I'm a huge fan of Amari, especially the type of person he is, and I think that Amari is one of the more thoughtful people in the NFL, really in sports in general. I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan, so it really bothers me when people compare him to Kawhi Leonard. But and so all of that to say that I have found Amari's justification for why he didn't play as well on the road to not make sense. I think if anybody else said that, Amari Cooper would question it because he talks about how he had less targets on the road. And I think that I don't know that is a strong argument, but I think it was just a weird coincidence. And I think there's no way to properly contextualize that. So I think that's why Amari leans on the targets thing. I think Amari will be just fine. I think that, Amari, I think he'll score. I think he'll be great. He was great in the Rams game that they played in the playoffs over there. So I think he'll be fine. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Definitely. Now, the last time the Cowboys played the Rams, it was, should we say, a bit of a blowout. But Zeke and Pollard both went over 100 yards on the night. Do you think, looking at the way that the Rams didn't bulk up their D-line as they did last season, do you think this is something, guys, that we're going to see again? A double 100-yard game for both players?
It's we've got the running back. The running backs actually, because we've got. But they're both bringing different dynamics to the game. I think if we can keep Aaron Donald pretty quiet. Do you know what I mean? The sky's the limit. And I mean, that guy's an absolute beast. And if you let him get a foothold in the game, then the run game it can take the run game out on his own. Couldn't he? So I think if we can kind of neutralise him a little bit, maybe not both go over 100 yards, but I think Zeke definitely, and I think Paul can put some good yards on the board. I don't think they'll both get over 100.
Yeah,
I would only question that in terms of our offensive line. Certainly with Collins and with Joe Looney starting at centre, it's certainly been weakened. But like you say, if we can keep the ball carrier away from Aaron Donald, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but he's looked electric again in Hard Knocks. There's a reason why he's one of the best, and they're lucky to have him. The pocket you can just see the pocket collapsing against even the best offensive lines. So if they can call the right plays and keep Donald quiet, Zeke can certainly get into the game. I don't know about Tony Pollard because, like I've been saying all off season, there is only one football, and you've got a tight end and good money and 3 wide receivers ready to go. So maybe not 2 of them, but I certainly would like Zeke to get to his 100 threshold. But yeah, the offensive line situation scares me a little bit.
Okay, well, I mean, let's go back to the O-line then, because there's a slight little fact that I went through from the game when they played each other last time. That, as we said, the issue for the Cowboys with the O-line is obviously the tackles. So Lyle Collins out, Tyron Smith missed most of camp because of an injury as well. But for me, the last time these guys played, our O-line gave up 0 sacks. And I would say that the D-line on the edge, if you look at it, the Rams really don't present, I think anyway, much of a threat on the edge, which is where the O-line is weakest. What do you make of it, RJ? Do you think that really the pressure for the Rams is more up the middle, but that's where the O-line is the strongest?
Well, I know that Michael Brockers has been studying and watching YouTube, so the Cowboys might be up a creek in that sense. But no, I mean, like, even if the Rams had legitimate edge rushers, they're still not going to be as good outside as they are inside because of Aaron Donald. And so that's the reality. I mean, thankfully they don't have that great presence off the edge, but I mean, they're not terrible. I think they're just kind of run of the mill, sort of average across the NFL. But that is a point of concern. I mean, Cam Irving has a lot of work cut out for him, and I mean, you know, Connor Williams has a lot of work cut out for him with Aaron Donald. I think we're all very confident in Zach Martin, obviously, but how Joe Looney and Connor Williams stack up is a big story here.
Definitely. For me, it's down the middle. But I think the strength of the Rams defense comes in their defensive backs. We all know they've got probably one of the best defensive backs in the league in Ramsey, which they have as well signed to a 5-year deal. So he's there long term. I really think that it's going to be the Amari versus Ramsey show. And then it depends really how much Gallup and Lamb can get into this game to save the day, if you like. I don't know what are you making in terms though of the linebackers. Do you think this is a game where Blake Jarwin can break free? Do you think, RJ?
I do. I think that Blake could. I haven't built a DraftKings lineup yet, but I think Blake's a candidate for me to be part of my squad, just from a financial perspective. But I mean, they're weak there, and I think that that's why this could be, to y'all's point, a big Zeke, Tony Pollard game, whatever. I think it could just be a big over the middle game. I mean, we know CD's been working as the team slot receiver. If CD's living over the middle, I mean, we know that CD is great after the catch. I mean, we could legitimately see just, I mean, a simple slant yard or slant route, you know, from CD that goes like 73 yards because he just takes it to the house after he gets open. I mean, that is going to be there all day, and Blake Jarwin certainly could benefit a lot from it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the three of you, which is more likely, right? This is the beginning of the campaign for Dak to have his MVP season or for Lamb to have his offensive rookie of the year season.
It's a tough one. I think if you look at it as a whole, just for the fact that we've got on this side of the ball, so we've got Zeke, who's going to get an enormous amount of touches. He's still arguably one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah.
His production doesn't seem to slow down. You've got Amari Cooper, who, even for a salary point of view, is going to get a lot of ball just for the fact you're not going to pay a guy that much and keep him out of a game. Gallup, I mean, he's coming along leaps and bounds every single year, and you add CD Lamb into the mix. I think he's probably more likely Dak than CD Lamb, just more for the fact that I don't know if he'll get as much ball in his rookie year, just for the fact that what weapons we've got. If we didn't have two of the four, then you could maybe argue that point, but because of who's there, I think it's more likely Dak to get the MVP than CD getting rookie.
I'm gonna agree with Jamie. Not to be down on CD Lamb, because I think he's going to be a great addition for years to come. But pumping the brakes is the wrong term. But I just want to steady the ship a little bit, because we have only seen him in shorts so far, and he's going to be coming up against the best cornerbacks in the world, as opposed to college, and they will have seen his initial tricks and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a step up for him. So, and just what Jamie touched on there, you've got two first round, you've got two potentially number one receivers ahead of him in the kind of the rotation. So he is only going to see a certain amount of targets. And certainly with the weapons we've now given to Dak, it puts him in a great place to go and succeed. And it's just a shame that it's still in a contract year. But we'll get onto that, I'm sure.
All right, and then just the last one. Oh, sorry, RJ, you didn't give me your take. Dak MVP or Lamb offensive rookie of the year, which is more likely?
My take is far more boring, or it's founded in more boring thought, I should say. I mean, or rather, it's founded from the perspective, if I had to put my money on one of the two, I think it's very difficult to win Offensive Rookie of the Year if a rookie quarterback is playing very well. And I think that Joe Burrow obviously has a chance to play very well, which sort of makes the challenge all the more difficult for City in that respect. I also think, we've all speculated as to what CD's stat line could look like his rookie season, and talked about 1,000 yards for him, Amari, and Michael Gallup. I don't know that that's possible, because so much of that is dependent on game situation. Like you would need the games to go the right way for all of them to hit 1,000 yards. You would need them to be trailing. It's almost like a very specific set of circumstances has to happen in that exact sequential way for those things to happen. And so I think that type of thing would have to happen for CD to have the type of year that would justify Rookie of the Year. I think it's much more easy for Dak to win MVP. I think that Dak will play very well, but I also think that MVP is typically awarded to a player, typically a quarterback on a team that is very visible and has a lot of success. Dak obviously plays for the Cowboys. I think they're going to have a lot of success. And I also think there tends to be MVP fatigue. Like if Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson don't measure up to the years that they won MVP, people have a hard time putting them in the conversation. So I think the circumstances are just right enough for Dak to win MVP overall.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking more of, you've got Joe Burrow. It's a quarterback-driven league. Dak's quarterback, so the chances are more likely it's going to go to Dak than Lamb. But
it's actually a great point from RJ, because if you think, if the Cowboys were to get a 14-point lead, we used to be the kings of burning the clock with the run game. So you would imagine that it would go straight to the run, and that will even take targets away from all three of them. Simple as that.
Yeah. Once they've done the business, if it was anything like last year, it's over by half time, and the wide receivers have done their job. But sticking to players of the year, how likely do we think Aaron Donald is going to get his third Defensive Player of the Year award, percentage-wise?
That's tough. I mean, that's the problem with these awards. It's tough because people start to measure you against your past self, and then people like to award stories. Like people like, and some awards are so different and so weird, and so he would have to. I mean, I think if I had to bet on somebody, it would be Aaron Donald. But he would have to ball out of his mind just because he has set such a high bar for himself.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. So let's move on then to the Cowboys defense versus the Rams offense. So this is where it's going to get a bit more interesting, and we'll have to spend a bit more time. Now, first of all, we'll look, as we did before, on the injuries. We've got Sean Lee, who's on IR. I'm not sure what you guys make of that. Do you think that this is Sean Lee, General Lee in the Cowboys, that he's done? I
think we've touched on that before, and he always kind of comes back, doesn't he? But it's just as much as we love him, and he brings something different to this defense. It's when are the Cowboys going to realise especially through say camp, he needs to be wrapped in bubble wrap, and just not partake. It's just a shame because he has the potential to be one of potentially the top 3 linebackers in this league, but he just can't stay fit and healthy.
Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, I don't know if you think. Do you think perhaps though it's a little strategic with what they're doing because they get to be able to pull guys back and forth with this IR rule?
It could be, but like I say, for the potential abuse of this team, you want him on the field week 1. You don't want to be chopping and changing because you can. Because I think what is it 3 weeks he's going to miss? Is it 4 weeks he's going to miss?
A minimum of 4. Yeah.
That's first 4 games is going to set the tone for your season. So you don't want to be thinking too far ahead down the line because you've got to get them wins on the board to start a run if you want to make the Super Bowl anyway.
What do you reckon, RJ? Strategic, or do you think this is the end of the road?
I hesitate to make this comparison, but when Kellen Moore kept like ending up on the Cowboys roster, I mean, there was like 3 years in a row where we were just like, how is this possible? Like what do the Cowboys see in this guy that they keep, they just fight heaven and earth to keep him on their roster. And then, you'd hear that he was smart and this and that and whatever. And you could see that obviously, but it just seems so ridiculous. This feels more like that to me than any sort of playing chess while anybody's playing checkers, and that they realize the value that Sean provides. They can afford to have him on the team. I mean, like, if you think about it, he's on the team while not technically part of the 53-man roster. It's almost like an ideal situation for him to be on injured reserve. And so, I mean, the longer, and I think he's not like your smash glass in case of emergency option, but I think the longer he's available, the more, valuable he is to you. And so if you can prolong Sean Lee's normal season kind of, trajectory from a health perspective, I think that's a wise move. I mean, it was the Rams game last year where Sean Lee kind of balled out, and that was late December. And so if you can stall his body breaking down a lot longer, then that works for you in the long run.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say in terms of Mike McCarthy as well, he doesn't have any emotional connection with Sean Lee. So if he decides that Sean Lee is done for the year, they could have possibly moved on from him. They could have gone in a different way. But it's like you say, if we can keep him to go off in November and December when it comes down to the big results, then that'll be good. And I think they feel that they can get the job done with Van Der Esch and Smith. So to keep him around, it's kind of like having Brandon Carr on the practice squad. He'll be in and around the team. These are old heads, and if they're wanting to go deep into the playoffs, then they need all the experience they can have around the camp.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Two other players though, guys, that are questionable: Luke Gifford and Jordan Lewis. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that as the week goes on, should we say? But some good news is Cheeto was a full participant as well, so it looks like that he's going to be playing. So I think it's safe to say, I don't know what you guys think, that it's going to be Cheeto and Diggs as our starting corners.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where Anthony Brown factors into all that. I mean, it is unofficial, but it's worth mentioning that Anthony Brown and Trayvon Diggs were listed as the team starting corners on their unofficial depth chart this week.
That's correct, yes. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on all of that as it continues until it becomes more official. But let's begin then, guys, on the Rams offense. Now, first of all, I thought we'd go straight into this. Now, we were talking about our O-line and the issues that we have. That is nothing in comparison to how bad the Rams O-line is. I don't know what you guys think of it all. I mean, even if you watch Hard Knocks, I mean, the guys that they do have that are left are looking a bit old and shaky and long in the tooth. But this is an O-line that struggled last year, and they did nothing during the off-season to help upgrade it and strengthen it. I've got a funny feeling that Everson Griffin and Tank as well are going to have an absolute field day. I don't know what you think of that, guys.
It certainly would. It looks that way. It looks that way. I'm just a little bit cautious because I'm sure we said this often enough last season. I mean, Andrew Whitworth, he just, they're going to move him straight into a coaching role. He seems to just play forever. And like you say, it certainly looks as if they're starting to age a little bit. Certainly with the upgrades that we've made, there's certainly going to be an awful lot of rotation, particularly at defensive end. I was so want to lose Jerry McCoy, but the rotation. I mean, you could even throw Bradley and I into the mix in terms of that. You could have potentially 5 guys rotating off the edge, so they can certainly keep them fresh. But I think Jared Goff is going to have to be on his toes because that's not a great offensive line in front of him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say. But I mean, coming to you, RJ, the strength of the Rams game, which is really how they go about winning these games, is in their run game and their play action pass. A lot of misdirection as well, a lot of misdirection plays. Do you think that the Cowboys, especially with what they've done last year against them, that this will be something that they'll be able to handle? Because last year, a lot of people complained about the Cowboys' run defense. Do you think that's going to change with everything that's been done during the offseason?
Yeah, I think because they're going to try to mess it up. I mean, to be honest, I think, before they were, so intent on, okay, let's just keep everything in front of us. We'll just react to what we see, etc. And so you're just letting them do what they want to do. And so I think that they will disrupt more things. I think that that's their goal. Their goal now is to just cause as much havoc as possible and rely on athleticism to fix that. And so I think that, it will be hopefully a lot better in that capacity.
Now, of course, go into the run game. I don't know if you can help us out, but who is the starting running back for the Rams?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who comes out first. I will say this: there are several running back groups that I have avoided in the world of fantasy football, and the Rams are one of them.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Just to kind of touch on the RJ says the running back core for the Rams is the one that's caused me sleepless nights this week because we cast our minds back not so far along in the playoffs. The Rams number one running back that day had a monster day, and his backup had an even bigger day and tore us to pieces. And no disrespect to the three that's listed as the top three for that, but they're an unknown quantity compared to Gurley. So I'm just kind of thinking, please let's not have a repeat of when C.J. Anderson just run all day long, because if he does, then I think that the remote's going to go through the TV at some point in the early hours on Monday morning.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with RJ more. I pay particular attention to the ESPN Fantasy Focus, and those guys want nothing to do with the Rams running backs because they don't even know who the starter is. Is it going to be Darrell Henderson? Maybe it could be Malcolm Brown, maybe Cam Akers, who they drafted. It's sometimes you hear teams go, oh, we're going to go running back by committee. And I just want to say, secretly in the background, they have no idea who their starter is. That's why it's running back by committee, because you don't sit a top talent on the bench at 3rd and 5 on the goal line if, you don't play running back by committee if you're going to send in your top guy all the time. So they have no idea. I don't think they do, because certainly from Hard Knocks, nobody emerged. It is very, very running back by committee. But again, I'm sure, just like Jamie said, it's got the potential to sting. Somebody could go off. It's all Hard Knocks is all for TV. They're not gonna. They're not, if they may very well know who their number one guy is, but like Jamie said, Todd Gurley is now in Atlanta for a reason, and I don't think they have a replacement, to be perfectly honest.
Do you think though as well? Just thinking about it, do you feel like a little bit that they're going the way that the Jags went? And what I mean is, they were a couple of years ago, pretty much they were loaded everywhere, weren't there? And everyone was thinking, do you know what? Could this be the year that they get to the Super Bowl and kind of win it? And since that run, they kind of fell by the wayside and they've completely gone into full rebuild mode. When you would have thought that the Jags would have been pushing for a couple of years with the roster they had, and also like the Rams, they kind of seem to be going the same way. Kind of the roster is kind of being decimated somewhat when you would think that they had that run to get to the Super Bowl and win it all, and they've gone completely the other way. Like you say, because if you look at some of the other teams, aren't they? You always see, even though sometimes like Green Bay, they're always kind of in and around there. New England, although now they've had a complete roster change. Like you don't see such a demise in a team going from being a Super Bowl contender to, like you say, who's the starting running back so quickly. So I don't know if that's where they're going, and we're just kind of the hype of the Rams is gone after that year.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
You just wonder how on how they've spent their money. They gave a lot of money to Gurley, and that didn't work out. They obviously have to pay to keep Aaron Donald. They've paid Jared Goff. They've spent draft capital on Jalen Ramsey, and then paid him. Well, you can only keep so many, and I just think if they want to go running back by committee, that's certainly a way to get underneath the cap. I mean, we'll go into it in a minute, but running back is certainly not their strength. We'll go into the receivers in a minute, but it's just I don't think it's somewhere where they've chosen to dedicate an awful lot of cap room. But I think that I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but the Gurley one was expensive for them, I think. That cost them.
It's actually still costing him, and he's not even there. I think it's costing the Rams $9 million on the cap to not play for them. And that's not that.
Some
And
going
it's costing
sore.
them. It's costing them even more for Brandon Cooks to not play for them, which I find crazy.
Sounds like a couple of moves that we would have made a few years ago. It's like you say, you go all in and you get bitten in the proverbial backside because you think that this move's going to work out, and it just clearly doesn't.
Yeah. But let's move on to the wide receivers, because we all talk about Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup being this great 1-2 punch as wide receiver. I think it's safe to say a mirror reflection of what the Rams have is exactly that with Woods and Cooper Kupp. But just how deadly can these pair be against our corners and, well, defensive back unit, RJ?
Well, I mean, they're tough. I don't think it's a walk in the park by any means, and that's why I think that half of us thinks that, and by half of us I mean like half of literally all of us thinks that the Cowboys just going to walk out and win like 42-10 on Sunday night. But I wouldn't be stunned if this is a closer game. And I do think that overall, like philosophically, the Cowboys defense is going to play more aggressively than they have in years past, I think, to make up for some of the lack of talent that they have in the secondary. And I think that when you play aggressive, you win a lot and you turn that into turnovers or whatever the case may be. But you also lose and you get burned and big plays happen the other way. And I think that players like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are the guys that are capable of kind of exploiting that for you.
He's my favorite player on their roster is Cooper Kupp. I liked him coming out of college, and you kind of a little disappointed that he kind of didn't somehow end up in the Cowboys. But like I said, it's just there's both good players, and it's just the secondary for me is still a little bit iffy, and with how much trouble we've had in our secondary the last couple of years, nothing's certain, is it? I mean, that front seven can only apply so much pressure. I mean, that the defensive backs have got to do their bit, and that's where maybe a little bit scary, thinking that are these two guys going to just run out and have huge games because the secondary is still trying to find its feet.
Yeah, you hope that Diggs can come in and play well, because to lose Byron Jones was a sore one. Obviously, he's gone to the Dolphins for huge money. That's still to be confirmed for me. It's still like I'm not ready to anoint the cornerbacks just yet, as the comeback group of the year just yet. And let's not forget about Van Jefferson as well. He can go. So they have three very, very capable wide receivers. That's how they're going to win games this year. They're going to win with Aaron Donald on defense and their wide receivers, because as much as we were down on their running back core, somebody could emerge. I think they spent a high draft pick on Henderson, and they've got three capable wide receivers with a quarterback that's turned around his fortunes, certainly, and he's got his big deal now. So they're not going to be a walk in the park. I agree with RJ. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than we all think, because we've had a good off season. Certainly with the videos coming out of training camp, but we still need to remember the defensive backs' performance from last year and just temper our expectations a little bit, because Cooper Kupp and Woods can be 1,000-yard receivers, so they're capable there, and there's every chance it's going to be a shootout on Sunday.
Yeah, but I'll come back to RJ on this one. We spoke about Blake Jarwin. Who's going to have the better game, though? And are our linebackers going to be able to match up to Tyler Higbee?
I think Tyler Higbee is going to have a better game, just because I think the Cowboys have more options. I think that Blake is just lower on the priority list, which is not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. And I think Tyler Higbee probably scores. I could certainly see that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And my last question for you, though, is I seen some news today that in practice, Tank has been seen playing his position, standing up in the 2-point stance. Is this more of a talking point now about the Cowboys switch of this 4-3-3-4 situation going on?
I think Tank is one of the more athletic people on the Cowboys defense, which is why he's paid as handsomely as he is. And I think that we should certainly expect to see him with his hand up, and I think that that's good. I think that DeMarcus Lawrence has the instincts necessary to be an outside linebacker. I think he's certainly got the physical traits necessary to be an outside linebacker. So I think that this is something that I don't know that I would want to see full time, but I certainly am excited to see the prospect of, because if that is a successful thing, I mean, it's not like an exaggeration to say the fabric of the entire Cowboys defensive game plan is very, very, very different, especially, if you've got other rushers that you trust, like the Cowboys seemingly now do with Everson Griffin or Aldon Smith or whoever the case may be.
Yeah. I seen that and I was like, oh, here we go. And when you look at it all, Randy Gregory coming back. There's another guy that'll fit into a 3-4. Aldon Smith, we know, done it in San Francisco. Jalen Smith, I think it would fit him quite handsomely. And then you got Dontari Poe, who could play as that, as that head over the center, but in the 3-4. Pieces are beginning to sort of slip together on this one. So I think it's definitely something we need to keep an eye out for during this game. I think more than anything, this will be the most telling point. But before we move on to the final piece, Fantasy Lounge, and then wrap up the show, all of you give me what you think will be the final score. I'm going to start. I'll start alphabetically, right? So EFG. Yeah, so that's Graham. So
get your fingers out there and start counting.
I know, yeah, I was trying to do quick thinking there. As you know, I'm not the smartest guy, but go for it, Graham. What do you think will be the final score?
It's gonna be a high score. It's going to be a high score, just with the caliber of wide receiver and quarterback play. I'm going to go 32-24 Cowboys.
All right, Jamie.
I tipped my hand to you guys before we went on air. I got it written down to prove that I'm not lying, but yeah, I've gone 31-17 to the Cowboys.
Okay. RJ.
I'm going to go like 33-17. And I might even go like 33-24, but that last touchdown is maybe like at the end, something that just affects, people with money on the game. But 33-17, Jared Goff runs it in like in the final 43 seconds and then runs and is like telling everybody, let's go for 2. And it's like, dude, the game's over.
Pretty much so like what happened last year when Cooper Kupp got that final touchdown at the end. I mean, it really didn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. Right, so let's have a bit of a game. It's the fantasy football part of the show, which we're bringing into season 2. So basically, all you've got to do is I'm going to give you the projected points of each player, and all you've got to give me is if you think he's going to get those points or more, then just say boy, oh boy. If you think he's not, then it's oh boy. Okay? So we'll start with RJ. Dak, he's projected for 20 points. Is it a boy, oh boy, or oh boy?
That's a boy, oh boy. Easily. That's a boy, oh boy, for sure.
Okay. Graham, Zeke, he's projected 17 points.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Aaron Donald factor.
All right. Okay. Jamie, Amari Cooper, he's projected this week for 11 points. It's a 100-yard game.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh,
11 points.
all right.
Gotta be, surely.
Yeah. Let's go because all right then, RJ, because you mentioned and you said he's gonna have a good game. Blake Jarwin, he's projected 7 points.
Oh man, that is touchdown dependent because he's not getting 70 or 80 yards on his own. I will say, oh boy, I don't think that happens ultimately.
Nah, I'm with you there. No, who should we go with next? Graham, CD Lamb for 7 points.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh.
Boy, oh boy. And I'll tell you why, because Ramsey could possibly shut down Cooper for this one. Just take away your strongest piece and rely on the other pieces. Simple as that. Boy, but it's definitely boy, oh boy, because he could turn it up.
Okay.
He could turn it up.
All right then. Let's go on the other side, right, RJ? Jared Goff, 17 points.
Oh, that's a boy, oh boy. I mean, he'll especially. I think the Rams are going to throw, and especially if he does get some sort of garbage time touchdown like I thought, I think he definitely hits that.
All right then. Jamie, Cooper Kupp, 11 points.
Boy, oh boy. I just think, as I mentioned earlier, secondary is still a little bit iffy for me. So I think he gets it.
All right, and Graham, the Rams defense is looking to get 6 points.
Boy, oh boy. Yep. Whether it comes from getting to Dak or, as much as it pains me, a pick six.
No,
because
don't be saying that.
Don't sleep on their corners.
Okay.
Do not sleep on the Rams corners.
Just to let you know, Graham, if he throws a pick six now, you're getting some abusive message because I've got Dak in my keeper league. So if he throws one, then some abuse is getting hurled your way.
You will notice I left out the running backs there. Do you want to have a go with it, RJ? Do you want to have a go, or should we just leave the running backs?
I think we just leave it.
I think it's just way too complicated.
For sure.
Nah, I'm just looking at it like, meh. No, we'll leave that one. But that does wrap up this week's episode of UK Cowboys TV. It is, as I say, the pre-game show. The post-game show will be on Tuesday with Brian, so make sure you go and see him. And of course, as well, don't forget we are sponsored by Cowboys Experience, where you can book your game day tickets and tailgate parties through them. Use the discount code UK Cowboys. What goes on there, though, this year, I think, is going to be a bit iffy to say at best with everything that's going on. But they do have plans. But, RJ, I'd like to thank you very much, sir. And although I had some technical difficulties with my computer, which I've been trying to fix while we've been talking, and I've found the root cause of my problem, and he's getting uninstalled as we speak. But, yeah, thank you very much for joining us, mate. I know you're a busy man, and it is, of course, game week, so you're going to be up to your eyeballs in it. I don't know if you noticed, we actually had Kelsey and Meg on from your Blog and the Boys team on.
I'm aware. Yeah, I listened. I really enjoyed it. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity. And I say it, I really do mean it. I'm a big fan of you guys and a great admirer and how devoted you are to the Cowboys, to the NFL, how good people you all are. It's always fun. And I'm sort of our foundational philosophy of Blogging the Boys is bringing people together all over the world that love the Cowboys. And obviously, these are some stressful times that we're living in. And I know that this season is going to look and feel very different, but I'm very excited for the way we'll all be able to experience it together in this fashion. I think that these are the ways we stay connected, in these times. And so I'm hopeful that we all look back in 20, 30 years at all the Zoom calls and StreamYards and everything that led to a Super Bowl winning season.
Yeah. And pub quizzes and all the rest of it. Dallas Cowboys pub quizzes we've had. Online birthday parties. We've had a few of them as well. But yeah, and just a little point to know. You are, this is actually the third time you've been on UK Cowboys TV, making you joint first for the most times appearing as a special guest for us.
Wow, I need to whip up a sash for myself. Yeah. I need to...
We'll have to give you like a UK Cowboy star every time you come on, so you can pin it up behind you.
Yeah, I think the Queen should knight me. Like, I think I'm at that point. So I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, but instead of a crown, she's got to wear Rowdy's cowboy hat.
Right, exactly. Same exact thing for sure. And she's got to read my name off of like a wristband, like a quarterback. So for sure.
Oh, but thank you very much for joining us, mate. I mean, you always give us plenty of time, and I although people don't know it, I do hound you quite a lot, sending you messages.
No worries.
Opinions. You're always there, even at like stupid times, like 3 o'clock your time. I'm messaging you, and you message back. So thank you very much for giving us your time, mate. And we look forward to having you back again, making you not the joint first, but the first.
That's right.
On the show, yeah. And we'll speak to Kelsey and Meg to get them back on again.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us your time, mate. And from myself, Graham, and Jamie, it's UK Cowboys TV. We will see you on Tuesday, where we're live again for the post-game show. See you all again, guys.
See you next time.